Thank you so much for joining me. So today, speaking about the new moon happening on the cusp between Pisces and Aries, and also while we have the equinox happening on the same day as the new moon. But that's not all, you guys. We also have the beginning of the new year. If we are looking at the world through the eyes of astrology, the beginning is in Aries. And yes, sirree, on the 21st of March is going to be the beginning of the year and the new moon. So that's going to be a fantastic time, but that's not all. That's not all. We also have Jupiter next to Fortune, and we also have Venus next to the North Node. So there is like quite a lot of fun to be had. There's quite a lot of hullabaloo probably happening already for certain ones of us. And if you're a lucky person, that you should probably now see. So what is a lucky person, even coming up to this moon, coming up to this edge? Everything works. Your body works, you're breathing good, you're feeling well, if you're feeling shiny and fine, and you're feeling an adventurous side, a dreamer side, a curious side, a funny side come out of you in Pisces, that's a rare individual. Because mostly what people get to experience during Pisces, and for good reason, is erosion. Feeling sad, feeling depressed, feeling sulky, having certain illnesses come to the forefront, having sadness, despair, or even emotionality suddenly become the main part of your day. Even though we did have Venus, Jupiter for most of the Piscean transit during this month of Pisces, we would still have had certain hits and certain types of sulky energies work with quite a few people, and a lot of loss and also a lot of courage probably was needed during this time to glue together the previous realities in such a way that a new reality is obvious and possible. I talked in a previous video about this particular equinox, this particular shift from Pisces to Aries not being such a huge deal. We're very lucky here with a mellow and subtle new moon ushering in the equinox, and we're very, very hopeful and lucky because already Jupiter-Venus conjunction and Aries led the way for us. So that means that we have a nice subtle certain change from Pisces to Aries without having this big boom 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 clunky change, because sometimes what happens is Pisces is very soft or very, very emotional or very, very lost or very sensitive, and then Aries is very brave and very mean and very big. And also quite a lot of times we have to most years we have a time to wait. So like the sun goes into Aries, but like the new moon in Aries doesn't happen till like April or something. So that takes ages to catch up. So the moon right now is very, very mellow. It's very, very good. It is completely in alignment, completely timed with the sun. It's a very beautifully designed ending and start of the year. It's not as clunky or as egoic or meaningful as previous years. It is a very, very nice subtle change from one sign to another. So what does this mean for me? I'm feeling that most people probably have it all in front of them, or it's an easy way to be led from one thing to another. If you've also been adventurous, as I have suggested in my Patreon readings for quite a lot of signs, if you've been very, very curious and adventurous, and if you just let all these different ideas and doors open, and you've said hello to many people, you've had many new changes or new people in your life, it could be a very, very simple and ego-free time. But unfortunately not everybody's this lucky. I'm seeing that quite a lot of people have certain issues and illnesses and even depravity show up during Pisces. So starting this new year is very hard for us. So I suggest trying to not be so much an ego, understanding if you are actually experiencing difficulty and if you are trying to do things that are not conducive. So for example, right now, jumping for that start, usually at the end of Pisces, a certain sunrise is seen. So if you can imagine, Aries is the sunrise, and in Pisces quite a lot of people feel this kind of jumpy feeling like, I know something's up, I know something's up, oh I know, I'll try this, I'll try that. If you're wanting to cook up something very new and different, if you're wanting a completely new fairy tale, I don't think that grasping at straws in Pisces is good. Let Pisces dissolve you. Not everybody needs this. Most people don't have a lot of aspects in Pisces, so they would probably be better off sleeping it off and just relaxing and allowing the past to wash off and to roll off their back, as Pisces is a time of loss and sometimes also human suffering, but it's very, very good at dissolving things. Some people are really made for it. So for example, if you are now feeling, hey, you know, like my father used to have a studio, an art studio, and my mother used to run a restaurant. I want to make a restaurant art studio. I think that's what I'll do. That's very easy, for example, for me to think of one of those things because it's my actual culture in my past. But uncultured and kind of on a whim ideas or designs don't usually look good on you. And also some of the ideas that we could have thought of in Pisces may have been a dream of a dream or an echo of an echo. What I would suggest is allowing time before the start of the year, before the equinox, to basically soothe any wrinkles and crinkles of your past and believe that everything is fine as it is. Try to minimalize your output, even though there's so much energy and glee in some people's lives, and even though you kind of almost can feel it or smell it, that there is a definite like karmic change happening. I trust it is a better idea to use this time during Pisces to allow things to be and to leave things alone and to kind of have a sleep or a rest and to even imagine or fantasize but not cling on to anything or anybody, and then let Aries time be that big powerful push, because Aries, at a contrast to Pisces, is equipped and is unconsciously driven towards gain, and it knows how. So Aries is like where your inner intelligence kicks in and you can just do it. You can give it a shot or you can try. It's awesome time for sport, for sexuality, for love, for bigger than before ideas, for large sums of money, because Jupiter is next to fortune also in Aries, for large ideas, for large things. But not every single person is capable of taking on that which Aries promises this year. We do have Chiron in there, we have Jupiter in there, we also have Mercury in Aries. It's a wondrous time to be on your own and to do things on your own. It's also very good not to be not like finding respect or disrespect in other people, not to think so much about what another person's ego or another person's timeline is thinking about you or is offering you, but in some ways it doesn't matter. It's like certain people can break free during this time, even coming up to this moon, and just achievement, a lot of brawn, like a very strong built body, a very strong built home, in some cases is going to be quite a big step as to what people have now got the guts to achieve, but not every single person is capable of doing that. I feel that we have to measure everything by our own measure. So, and do things by our own rule book. So it's the individual also with this Pluto, Eros, Hygia, Stellium, at an aspect to the Sun, you know, the Sun between Pisces and Aries, and the Stellium being between Capricorn and Aquarius. It's a very, very nice kind of like at a sextile feeling. People are going to really build around you if you can do it on your own, if you can bring it all together, if you're saying nah to the past, if you are doing things on a very brave level, if you are just opening your eyes as if you are going through this feeling as if a child, or as if for the first time. It's a huge call for innocence, and the dimensions of the past that need to be returned are not for every person correct, but some new and big and brave wake-up calls, and some new and very racy, amazing feelings can definitely be part of the even infrastructure of the community very fast. Very high-flying and fetching ideas can come out of this Aries time, as we're going into Aries on the 21st, but it's not going to be for every single person to take that idea and make it whole, because it takes guts, it takes inspiration, it would take so much freshness and juvenile romanticism to be able to make anything happen. So if you are very, very itchy, you like very itchy for a new idea, you want to conceive a brand new presence or partnership, you really would like to make a new change or a big step, you want to take that big step, that is meaningful. But not every single person is able to do it. You know, some people can say, yeah, I can make this happen, but like when it actually comes to doing it, it would probably be near impossible for certain people. So it takes a very brave, a very vocal energy, it takes a very big heart, it takes a huge personality, it takes a giant maybe amount of money, or a giant potential, a giant soul, to be able to make certain things happen if you have this kind of a big leap of faith feeling. But that's not maybe in your mind as much. It's more of a build-up in your body. Some people might be feeling a lot of faith or a lot of exactness from inside of their body, from certain portals that are opening during this time. And also even coming up to this moon, there will be portals opening, but not everybody can do it. I trust to wait. If you have a very, very big idea, very huge, very, very huge feeling about something, try to wait it out and hold it off until maybe the first few days of Aries, just to make sure that you are doing it from the right space, from the right inner feeling. Because not a lot of people know this, sometimes our ideas and concepts are part of a karma. Like, say, I've been hurt in the past and now I want this completely new thing, but it could actually be more pain. Or like, for example, it could be, I want to do this because I want to show them how it's done. Or like, I want to do this because I'm bored, or I'm feeling helpless, or I'm afraid, or I'm doing this for money, or I'm doing this for fame, or other things. So the reason, so the root of a lot of ideas and ideologies during this time will have to be tested first, I feel, before you practice it. There are lots of people that really want to be a part of something, or they want to be with somebody, or they want to practice certain things. So there is like passion, and there is like a certain hysteria or emotionality awakening in some people, and then other people don't need it. It feels to me that it's really good to sit down and take these steps carefully. It's now the 13th of March. We are in the dissolving part of Pisces, allowing things to absolutely just go. If things have no energy, if things have no hope, if it's so boring, if it's dark, if it's sad, if it's silent, letting things grow also that are actually good for you and that are already expressing some kind of optimistic or high vibration. Some people have very high voltage things happening in their life. So for example, they're going through a divorce, but in their life are some beautiful people, and their children are very bright and colorful. You know, concentrate on the children maybe here. So for example, you are closing your space, or you are understanding that you have no more choices somewhere, but other things come up. So we have to look for the fruit and for the color. Grayness is what the rabbit here sometimes can give. If we are not feeling great, if you're feeling really, really good, you are a rare person, a rare specimen during this time, and it might be already good to get certain ideas and feelings going. It could be all right to get some ideas rolling out, but that's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. It's kind of hard if you are pushing, you're rushing, and you're wanting fame or you're wanting success. It's a success that is given to only some. So like it's quite a big shift. It's very competitive. It's like sport. It's competitive. A lot of people will not want to go where you want to go. Also, who is behind you? So sometimes you might have a lot of clients, or you might have a lot of people or followers, and then some people won't, you know. So that's also a big break or make or break feeling. Some things are just oodling with life, and some things just can't be, you know. So for example, opening a space or holding space for other people, nobody shows up. That's very hard. Or for example, having just a small window, like offering something very small, and everybody just rushes forward to receive, you know. Like for example, you have made something for 5 people, but you look at you look at what's going on, and there's suddenly 7 or 8 or 12 or 100 people that want the same thing, and they're all lighting up. So being very busy. And also in some people's lives, it is also about promiscuity. If you have promiscuous nature, if you're very flirtatious, there could be lots of lives that you want to be a part of, or many choices. Also with the sun being at an aspect to Mars and Moon, of course. And yes, also Sun is in a stellium with Neptune and Mercury. There is a quickening, and there is like part of a certain dream that you're living. So promiscuity, obsession with being with too many people or wanting too many lives to be part of yours, having too many friends or having too much to do, and being between different tribes and between different systems. I don't want to say too much, because I know that certain people, I understand certain people are really interested in that type of lifestyle, and I know that there is no need to judge it or no need to dominate over it. It's just that sometimes people become very sparse and only understand later that they've given their time or their journey to too many people, or they've been in front of too many eyes or too many ears. And also the talent of speaking to a wide audience or wanting to be friends with many people. For example, on the internet, if you are a personality, I would be very careful and try to let go of that. There is quite a lot of personality representation happening already with this Eros and Pluto combination. There's also Lilith and Sappho in Leo. So I mean, to me it feels that there are going to be promiscuous, sentimental or emotional, needy people that are looking for other people's evolution to be close to their own. So for example, people that are completely dependent on their audience, or they want to experience other people's bodies or other people's minds to feel good about their own. That's going to happen probably for a lot of people, and it's going to be anywhere and everywhere. So sexuality, being interested in another person's body, being interested in another person's way of life, wanting to merge souls, wanting to merge bodies, that's not something that I feel is very becoming of this age, but in some people's cases is going to be the only way to get through. Also trying to understand if people are using other people's dependency on them, or if they're using some kind of like a lock and key, because we do have Chiron next to Jupiter, an Aries lock and key situation, or they manipulate one another, or they want other people to be even in control of them. All of these very unhealthy and very unsubtle ways that people have friendships, or how they try to get in each other's pockets, they try to get in each other's homes or in each other's beds. You know, people really wanting to be more than just friends, or people wanting to have more power or more I suppose dominance over other people, or to be dominated by other people. There's going to be quite a big lock and key thing. I feel there's going to be a theme for many months until people just get used to being themselves. I mean, I don't want to say too much. So we are in the rabbit year now, and it is sticky and it's cuddly, and people want to sniff out who is the best or who is the kindest. People are trying to shuffle through families. People are wanting other people's lives to matter to them also, or they want to be in amongst other people. So it's very, very, very sensual also in some cases, and it's promiscuous, and it's wanting to be part of a greater whole. But then we have a dragon year next year. So the dragon is about the mystery of the soul, and how big and bright, or how true, or how good and how powerful you are, and how many, like say, languages can you speak, or how many things can you offer, or how many different things you've done in your life. And in some cases there's going to be also on the surface for a select few people, looking at your trophies, looking at what you have discovered, look at what you can share with other people, or look at what you have come to be. But then there are certain people that don't want to experience anything. They just like to be where it's warm. So for example, that other person has created a home. I want to be inside their home, no matter what it takes. Or like this other person has made a significant amount of money, and I want to be their best friend, because come what may, this person is going to be helpful to me. So helpfulness, this is really crazy. Like for example, employment. Here we are going into a very, very economical, strong, hearty and well-designed and even destined month of Aries is going to be very true. So a lot of things are going to be by the book. Things are going to be very, very clean. And I feel that the outcomes that people are looking for need to be on the surface. So for example, if you have somebody wishing to share a bed with you just because they need a place to stay, or a safety or support, mental or emotional family, they need to really, really understand where they are at. I feel that you have to really expose this also within yourself if you can. Like, why am I doing something? Is it because I am terrified of my own life? Is this because I am not up to date? Is this because I am very black and white about my progress? Is it because I'm lost? Is it because I'm lonely? Some people are going to want to be part of people's lives because they don't have anything to show for it. You know, so I talked about Saturn, Pisces. You have to have savings now. You have to have your life pretty good. You know, you have to have things pretty well developed and very well spaced out. But not everybody can be that. Not everybody's that good. So also expecting other people to be on that level is hard. Like for example, understanding now that you are in a group and you're dancing a dance with people that don't have anything to share, that don't want to, like say, give you anything. Like say you go to a party and you bring a plate of food and nobody else does. Everybody's just there for the cheap wine or the free kisses or, you know, free love. That's very, very harsh, you know, to understand that, for example, you are willing to bring it and everybody else can't. You know, so that's also very, very obvious. There's some very big gurus amongst us, and there's some very obvious truths and true people. You know, it's like a person that will always be there for their friend, a person that is good, a person that will give you what they can without drama, without storytelling. Somebody that can be of faith, or somebody that can be of courage, or somebody that has done a lot of work and has evolved into a very knowledgeable person. That's very, very true. But the psyche works in another way during this time. So psyche is in the no-go zone in Scorpio because it's relatively close to the South Node, and she's in retrograde. And I feel that quite a lot of people will want to know you for that which you can do and have, and they don't have anything to show for it. Now that's really hard if there are people around you that are not equipped or they're not committal, and you might be the only one that knows how to be that for somebody else. Here you can be very aware and awake to this. So for example, if you have a certain project and you could be seen as probably the only one that puts in the work and does anything, you have to grow yourself out of it. It's hard to be the boss or the manager or the little king of a territory where nobody else wants to help. It's hard to be there amongst people that are inept or psychologically unadvanced. Also, psychological advancement, so we're coming out of Pisces, you would know if you've got it, like you got no qualms, you got no drama, you are living your everyday simply and normally, you don't have any headaches, you don't have any place to be where you shouldn't be, you don't have any ironies basically. Say you're living through Pisces time and you're like, wow, I'm already really strong. And it might make you very also psychologically advanced, and maybe also in some ways, yeah, limited, but that's not the point. The point is just to be a good base and hearty person during Aries time. So maybe already a lot of you guys can be that. It's like, I'm a very good person, I'm very hearty, actually I'm prepared for Aries, and I feel like I'm living out like an Aries energy even before Aries starts. That's really awesome. That's happening in my life. It's happening to a couple of people I know as well. But that gets really dark when you see like, wow, I'm like the only normal person in the group. How to handle it. So for example, you found yourself in a certain territory or a certain design, or which basically means you're the only person pulling the weight. You're the only relationship for somebody. You are the only like mother or father. You are the only good person in the group. Then you have to find a new territory. I actually think that even before this moon and after this moon, it would be great to walk off and do things with people that are stronger than you, and also that you can be guided by. You know, being a guide all the time is great, but then, for example, what if you want to learn something, learning things, finding people that can teach you, finding open hearts, and not people that are just like squatting on other people's land, or people that are squatting in other people's homes, or trying to fill out a bed space. You know, so people that are not fulfilling enough also are going to be really, really seen, and situations that are just not going to work out later, because there is nothing in there. There's no power, there's no meat, there's no fire, there's no growth. And when we get thwarted by a certain situation, when we are dominated, for example, by a weaker person, or if we are constantly experiencing weakness because we don't know how to show up and where to be, as we have outgrown a certain circumstance, that's very, very hard, and it's hard to have compassion for both sides. So the idea is basically to do it on your own, and to try and already practice a certain type of stability and inwardness and strength and power, and trying to do it for yourself and for your own psyche, and doing it just for you sometimes, because if you don't want to do it for you, that's hard. So people have to get all that gut, you know, all those guts and that brawn that we would have developed during a tiger year, and be able to really be clear when it comes to yes and no, and how we are, and to understand how we're feeling. And also, like, I'm sorry if you've been put in a story where everybody around you kind of sucks, so like nobody's doing anything and you're not feeling very inspired or appreciated. Then you have to learn how to grow on your own, or how to get out, basically. So a lot of rabbit year is about burrows, and then you overgrow that burrow and you can't fit in there anymore, and you got to find your own burrow, you got to find other spaces. It's kind of like plants. It's like repotting plants. Like, this plant has way too many roots that are all like in a cluster inside the pot, and then you got to find out how maybe to put it in the earth, or you got to like split up the root system and put it in different pots. So you got to put it directly into the garden, you got to find another pot. You know, so that's kind of how it works here in rabbit year. You got to find out how you're going to grow, basically, and no longer limit yourself to how other people act, feel, or what they think, or what they're about. So it is about independence and growing into an incredibly wealthy, rich, and very brave, independent force. That's most of this time. And then we are also going to have to face certain type of truths and faiths, and we have to face a certain type of difference, and we probably will have certain conflicts in Aries, because it's just what Aries is about. It's about matching things up this year, but it's also not just about matching, it's about knowing how to get things done. And then for a lot of people that are not strong enough or not willing enough to change their world, and they're not adventurous or curious or bright or colorful enough to be able to find their way, is going to be maybe about teaching and learning, maybe it's about suffering, and maybe it's about cleansing the body, as Chiron and Aries is going to bring that out, Chiron and the sign of the body. So if you wanted to, you could have a look at my previous materials. They're old to me now, but maybe they're new to some of you guys, in terms of cleansing the body and what are the different plants that can help you. And also a lot of rabbit here is about limits, and it's about this claustrophobia that not having enough energy or ego or fire would give. So what I would probably offer is that people that are feeling ill, stop and face it now, and unravel it and learn about it and cleanse the body and experience the dark night of the soul, so that later in life you don't have to, and do things properly. And having to also have certain things done, like for example, some of us don't know how to grow past a certain level. We don't know what to do or what we've done to deserve certain fates or certain experiences. But you have to go back to the designer board. You got to go back and you got to redesign it. You got to look at the fine details, because that's how rabbit works. If you don't want to do it, then you might be reliant on other people, and there is a lot of reliance right now, people relying on each other and constantly having to rub against each other or pay and work for each other, because there's no other way to kind of like stick things together. So unless you really know who you are, it's going to be quite a hard life maybe later on. So I suggest going back to the drawing board and redesigning a lot of it. And what else do we have here? Well, I suppose I would say a couple of words about the equinox itself. So the equinox is the beginning of the year. It's a change between Pisces, the unconscious, and Aries, the super physical. So the idea basically is to grow through that which you like and what you think you want to do. Try to go through the different dreams and ancestral feelings and also limitations. I think that some people have a lot of work to do to be able to resolve their psyche and their previous messes and their previous jobs and commitments. And then as we come into this Aries energy with the moon and the sun as well, it's going to be a very, very easy job to understand, to forgive and forget really fast, and to move in on these realities that you actually want, moving into a different space, moving into a better reality, moving into a better house or just a better state of wisdom. That's really, really good. But then also, this is the thing, you have to stay very true and on point. There is not a lot to do. This equinox is a subtle one. You don't need the magic of many, many, many bodies, many, many lives. You don't necessarily have to have a big event unless you really, really want that in your life. So this particular year, for example, having a big music event or having a big dinner together, I trust not always does this work. So for example, if you're sitting in your reality and you're going, actually, I'm so over it, I'm so tired of it, there's nothing I want, there's nobody I want to see, don't make it a big point. So for certain people, yeah, the equinox may need to be a quiet and a calm equinox and a very subtle equinox. It's like a designer's equinox, it's like about recalibrating your own psyche, your own mind and your own reality, your own version of life, and then walking off into your own world. So like the more centered on you, the more obvious you are to yourself, and the more great you are at being yours, the less karma there is. So a lot of people don't really like that. But I think that the more of a point that you're making of who you are and who you want to be and what you want to do in your life, the better, the richer, the stronger, the more brilliant and the more obvious is the result. So not everybody probably will have the independence to do that, but try to go into that really innocent feeling of what do I want, what do I care about, how do I feel, what am I really doing in my life, how do I fit, And if you're very strong, try to care only for you at the moment. Even if you're a leader, if you've got like a giant cape of people following you around, it's a better idea to be safe and not to also delegate from potentially having too much ego, too much force. So it also feels to me that leadership is kinder now. It has to be more subtle and gentle. So a leadership person in leadership position would do miles better if they stayed alone and played it safe for a little bit until a time comes, and it's an obvious, almost unconscious way that they pick people up and give them what they want. So it's not about pushing on people, it's not about staying behind, also it's not about dealing in it, it's not about making yourself a slave to other people's minds or wisdoms. A very, very big religious or spiritual guide is very likely to come out during this time, or a person who really knows spirit for what it is. But there is also no need for that thing that happens where, you know, people like take your autographs, or, you know, they pray for you, or they pray like towards you, or they feel so much bigness and energy coming from just the one person. Having the only one person also in a community that is brave enough to do something is going to be having the only one hero in the story that can also be, but we have to be careful and not pull all that weight. So sometimes there is a robustness and a bigness to an Aries time, and there's just like such a heavy load and like such a big force, such a big voice, such a big mind that a person needs to be able to force that energy into a creative cycle. And at this point, I don't think so. I don't think it's about being as pushy, as big, robust, or even essential. It is more about being normal. So there is like a normal person that might know a lot about life in comparison to a person that is screaming down the microphone. So this is about subtlety, and also about other people wanting to feel safe next to the person who's driving it, or next to the person who's leading them, because it's not all about force, and it's not about advertising. It's not all about being extremely crude, rude, outward, or political about anything. It's more about having a certain joy and a kind of innocence inside that is going to naturally inspire and align other people's lives without having to be a giant part of the picture. So that's basically all I got for this time. I hope this was interesting, and if you like, have a look at my website and my books and other things such as that. And yes, having more people interested in retreats, coming to Peru. It's pretty calm now. We weathered the storm. There was a little bit of civil unrest for a while here, but it's pretty good. Like, this area where we live now has never had civil unrest, but other parts of Peru, like Lima, Puno, and Arequipa, and other places also did have some issues. Pucallpa had some issues, you know, so we don't have that in the north. So it's pretty safe. So I'm being very open with you guys here. If you'd like to have a look at the retreats, I'll probably be putting that up on the website soon. You can just email me, you know, if you want to hang out, and if you'd like to experience some nature, and if you need some help, you know, with cleansing or therapies, or some yoga or mantras or something like that. We've got quite a lot that we can offer here as a community. So let me know, and yes, I will see you next year, I suppose, next year, as we cross into Aries. Thank you very much, enjoy, and I'll see you next year. Okay, bye.